Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an incredible story that kicks off with a daughter's unbelievable betrayal and ends with a mother's quiet, life-altering lesson. It's a story all about a hidden fortune and what true wealth really means. Can you even imagine getting a phone call like this? It all starts right here. On the other end of the line is Antonia Brooks, a 71-year-old widow who is still deep in grief over losing her husband of 45 years. And the person calling? Her only daughter, Angela. In less than 30 seconds, her entire world just shatters.
So just like that, her whole world flips upside down. One minute, Antonia is a grieving mom who thinks she's leaning on her daughter for support. The next, she believes she's been left with absolutely nothing by the one person she trusted the most. But as you can see, that's not the whole story, not even close.
So let's really break down just how cruel this betrayal was and what was really lost in that moment. Because, it was about so much more than just a house and a car. I mean, think about the emotional weight of what was sold here. That beach house wasn't just some asset. It was the backdrop for 40 years of family memories. Her late husband's truck, it probably still smelled like him. Angela didn't just sell things. She cashed in an entire lifetime of memories to go on vacation. But here's where the story takes a wild turn. As Antonia is sitting there in absolute shock, a memory starts to surface. Something her husband, Robert, gave her just a few days before he passed away. Something she had completely pushed aside in her grief. And there it is, tucked away in her dresser, a plain, unassuming manila envelope she'd completely forgotten about. And this one little thing is about to change the entire course of her life.
Robert's foresight here is just remarkable. Inside that envelope is a letter, and it reveals a secret he kept for their entire marriage, not because he was being dishonest, but to protect her from the exact kind of financial terror she was feeling right now.
And the secret? Well, it was staggering. It turns out Robert, a man who drove a bus for 40 years, had been a secret and brilliant investor. He had quietly taken their savings and multiplied them, acquiring a total of 7 properties.
So Antonia wasn't just comfortable. She was the sole heir to a secret fortune. And the biggest irony of all, she owned the very apartment building her daughter Angela was living in. She wasn't poor. She was incredibly, unbelievably wealthy.
Now you'd think this is the moment where she starts plotting some epic, fiery revenge, right? But no. Instead, this discovery sparks a plan for a profound, life-altering lesson for her daughter.
It was Robert's own words that gave Antonia her mission. You see, he had worried that if Angela knew about their wealth, it might change her. And in the most tragic way, his fears had come true. So Antonia decided to honor his wish, but not in the way you might think.
Her strategy, it wasn't about punishment. It was more like a carefully constructed educational journey. She was going to let Angela feel the full weight of her choices, all while a safety net waited just out of sight, completely hidden.
So, as Antonia is quietly regaining legal control of everything from the shadows, Angela's fancy European dream trip completely blows up in her face, and the reversal of fortune here is just wow, stark. Angela's husband, Edward, takes off with all their money. And worse, he leaves her to face massive debts that he racked up by forging her signature. Suddenly, she has nowhere to go except back to the mother she abandoned.
And then comes the first real consequence, right in the mail. An eviction notice. What Angela has no idea about, of course, is that the notice is from the building's new, very active owner, her mother. The lesson has officially begun.
Humbled, with nowhere else to go, Angela moves back in with Antonia. To survive and start trying to pay off her debts, she gets a job cleaning offices at night.
She has well and truly hit rock bottom, forced to learn the value of a dollar earned the hard way.
So, after weeks of just watching her daughter struggle, take responsibility, and begin to genuinely change, Antonia decides the time is right. It's time for the final and most important lesson. Antonia brings her daughter to a lawyer's office, telling her it's just to get some free legal advice about her debt situation. Angela has no idea she's about to walk into the biggest reveal of her life.
After the lawyer lays out everything, the massive fortune, the secret ownership of all the properties, and the fact that all of her debts had already been legally taken care of, Angela asks this one crucial question. It is the emotional climax of this entire ordeal.
And there it is, Antonia's answer. This reveals her true motivation all along. See, it was never about the money. It was about teaching a lesson that no amount of money could ever buy. It was a lesson in character, in dignity, and what really matters in life.
In that moment, it all just clicks for Angela. She finally got it. Her father's real inheritance wasn't the property empire. It was the values he tried so hard to instill in her. True wealth was never about the balance in a bank account.
And you know what? This incredibly tough lesson, it didn't break their relationship. It completely transformed it. Angela kept her humbling job, she went back to school with a real purpose, and together they decided to use their fortune to help others, turning that beach house, a place of painful memories, into a beacon of hope. Angela herself, in her own words, really came to understand the incredible depth of her own transformation. She realized that her mother's painful silence was, in fact, the greatest act of love she had ever received.
So this whole story, it leaves us with a really powerful and frankly provocative question to think about. At what point does letting someone face the music, face the consequences of their actions, become the most compassionate thing you could possibly do? It's a complex idea, isn't it? That often painful intersection of love, money, and growing as a person.